I was a little bit biased going into this movie. See, before seeing American Sniper, I heard a few things about it. A lot of people liked it, but I'd heard about how it changed some things just for the sake of getting it more mass appeal, how it was basically American military propaganda, and while overall it does actually have its strengths, American Sniper really just comes across as Clint Eastwood creating his version of Jersey Girl. Now, I want to get what's good about American Sniper out of the way first. It is actually very well made, okay? It is essentially well-made, high-quality military porn. Celebrates the US military for those who are invested in military history and for those who are of the patriotic American ilk, like Clint Eastwood himself. And Eastwood has actually proven time and time again to actually be a very talented director. Unfortunately, his strengths weren't entirely well applied to this movie. If you want to see a truly good Clint Eastwood film, I actually recommend Gran Torino. That movie is just awesome. The movie actually goes into Chris Kyle, the American Sniper's troubles with post-traumatic stress disorder. This is actually kind of surprising to me, because I was expecting it just more to be all, hurrah, Kyle got the villain, isn't our military great, but it was actually kind of nice to see it actually go into the problems that a soldier can actually face when coming home from battle. Unfortunately, that's where the positives ended for me. As for what the movie actually does kind of wrong, let's actually go start with the first act, which begins with Chris Kyle's childhood. It's horribly compressed. Like, they're trying to fit in all of his backstory, all of his training into just the first act, all the build-up of the narrative, and really feels like even though it's been compressed, what they chose to adapt from Chris Kyle's biography was still cut short regardless, and it just kind of feels awkward, and like we're missing out on more information than we should. I get that Eastwood is a patriot. I get that. I know what ideology he follows. But the level of patriotism in American Sniper is literally so thick, you could cut it with a bayonet and watch it bleed bald eagles and stars and stripes. In that respect, it actually becomes blatantly clear that American Sniper just is US war propaganda, just to help glorify their army. And because of that, even more glaringly obvious that American Sniper is the modern equivalent of Green Berets. The progression of time isn't very well handled either. While the first act was compressed and it felt like bits of it were cut short, at least there was a decent progression of time. In the second and third acts, though, it kind of jumps around a bit. The best example of this is actually when Kyle has just come home from his second tour of duty and his son, whom when we first saw was still just a baby, is now suddenly 7 or 10 years old. They're at a garage and he meets up with a soldier whom he helped, and then it just cuts back to his third or fourth tour of duty, and then pretty soon we see quite possibly the most ridiculous scene in the entire movie. It honestly astounds me that no one during development called this scene out on how ridiculous it is. It's supposed to be Chris Kyle comforting his newborn baby daughter, and yet it's so clearly obvious it's a doll. Not someone else's baby they brought on as an actor, not a CGI monstrosity like in the last Twilight movie. It is literally a friggin' doll, and it looks like he's playing with a doll. As for the actors, the male lead playing Kyle and the female lead playing his wife, they do decent jobs, but they're really nothing to write home about, and everyone else is actually kind of forgettable. And then finally, there's this. With critiquing this movie, I think it's only fair to point out deviations from the source material, Chris Kyle's biography, if only because it's actually adapting something that was based on someone's real life. Quite possibly just to help portray Kyle as a more likeable, overall patriotic protagonist the audience can root behind, they kinda omitted some more offensive aspects of his biography. And the actual villain in the movie, a rival sniper helping out the insurgents from Syria, who was an Olympic shooter, turns out him and Kyle really didn't have this kind of hero-enemy dynamic going on in real life. Turns out they really just had one or two run-ins in real life. But hey, a movie needs a villain, and that's American Sniper. It's some of the most blatantly patriotic propaganda to come out in the modern age. It's not badly made, and it's clear that director Clint Eastwood put a lot of love into it, but the flaws and faults really overcome whatever good there is to be found in the movie, and while some people may like it, there's just no denying that Eastwood really did drop the ball with this one, and it's just an underwhelming movie.